morning, everyone. Welcome to Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living. I am delighted to see you all and welcome you this morning. This is a time when we are beginning an 8-week program together called Let It Shine. So Suzanne was kind of the tip-off to that. Back up. This morning, we have a poster for you with this image on it. And these will be available for you immediately after the service at the membership table right back there, so you can pick one up. Each week during this 8-week pledge program process, we're going to let something else shine through us, some quality. This week, it's awareness. Awareness is an important thing for us to be able to, we're always aware, but we're not always aware that we're aware. So as long as we're awake, we're aware of something. It might be internal, external. This is about becoming more conscious in our awareness. And so when you came in today, you got 2 little slips of paper. One of them says awareness at the top, just awareness, and has an affirmation underneath it. Everybody have one of those? So if you don't have one of these, let us know now so the ushers can make sure you get one. So Cindy, Lou, and Leslie up here need them. And then, and one right here. And also, you have a little slip that is a commitment slip that says, I let awareness shine through me, and it has a place for you to sign and put the date. Do you see that? Does everybody have one of those? Give us a wave if you don't have one of those. Okay, so Robert, Harry here, and back in the back over here, we have one more. Yes? And Frank. And we're going to need pens, but we won't use them quite yet, okay? Cindy Lou, did you need one of those as well? Cindy Lou needs one, Linda, and Frank needs one. So this year is going to be a little bit different because this year we actually have a theme song. We literally have a theme song called Let It Shine. And this is a theme song that was not written for us, but was written by Karen Drucker, and it's on her album Shine. And so we're going to sing it every week. Now, this is a fast song. And so today what we're going to do is Rick has the recording of Karen that he's going to play in just a second. I'm going to put the words up here. Suzanne is going to sing along to the words, and so will I as best I can. And then any time during the song when you get it, just start singing along. Are you game to try that? It is quick, so get your tongue warmed up. Here we go. Rick, go ahead and start. You can turn it up. I'll be the first on the dance floor, the first to raise my hand, the first to state my opinion, the first to take a stand. I won't play it safe and wait for a sign. I'm gonna throw myself out there and let my light shine. Let it shine! Let it shine! I let my big, bright, brilliant beam of radiant light shine. And you can stand up and bop to this as well. Oprah and Conan, 60 Minutes and The View. They'll all be talking about me and all the things I do. I'll be the one who sets the bar, the one who's in the know. Vogue will come to see where fashion trends will go. 'Cause I shine. Yes, I shine. I let my big, bright, brilliant beam of radiant light shine. For too many years, I hid my life, fearing I was too much and who I was just wasn't right. Then I heard this voice from within and up above. You are here to be a shining light and give and receive love. Now I'm going for nothing's in my way. Carpe diem is my mantra. I practice kindness every day. I take time to connect, time to have fun. Wanna know I've used up every drop before my life is done. Oh, I shine. Yes, I shine. I let my big, bright, brilliant beam of radiant light shine. Oh, come on, move. There you go. Now, in this next verse, she says woman at the beginning. We're going to say person. Oh, whoa. I live my life fearing I was too much and who I was just wasn't right. Then I heard this voice from within and up above. You're here to be a shining light and give and receive love. Give and receive love. I am a person of power, a being of grace. The life I've lived with every wrinkle on my face. I love myself so I can love you too. I know when we're connected, there ain't nothing we can't do. So let's shine. Let's all shine. Let's let our big, bright, brilliant beam of radiant light shine. I see you shine. Yes, you shine. I see your big, bright, brilliant beam of radiant light shine. Yes, we shine. Let's all shine. Let's let our big, bright, brilliant beam of radiant light shine. Woo! Yes, we shine. Let's let our big, bright, brilliant beam of radiant light shine. Woo! That was fabulous. You guys did great. So every week when you come, we're going to sing this, you're going to get better and better, and you're going to be dancing in the aisles and hanging from the rafters, and that's how we want it to go. So, this morning, you'll see that the affirmation card says, awareness shines through me. I know, and I know that I know. And so if you are willing to make a commitment to awareness, I'm going to invite you to take the little commitment card that you sign. Now, these you're going to turn in with your offering. So you don't need to do anything with them now except sign them and date them. Put your name on it, and the date is 9/22/19. And if you don't write it legibly, you'll be sorry next week. So please make sure that you have it written very clearly on here. And then you get to keep the affirmation card, because that little tiny affirmation, I want to show you what you're going to do with that. Take this little tiny affirmation home with you, and you glue it or tape it right there on your poster. So you'll be able to put this up on your refrigerator or at work or on a bulletin board, someplace where you can see it and remember what the affirmation for the week is. So remember to pick up your poster at the membership table. And if you need a pen to sign your card, give a wave. And if not, just sign it and hang on to it, all right? And in the meanwhile, I'm going to have you stand so we can say the affirmation together. So if you're making this commitment, stand up and join me in this. All right? Awareness shines through me. I know, and I know that I know. Great. Okay, now you can be seated. That's terrific. Yes. So this is the first week, and we're going to have an 8-week adventure together. And we're having another adventure together this morning about this, actually, because I am not doing this talk by myself this morning. I have a guest. And before I introduce him, I want to share a story with you about awareness. So, one day, there was an earthquake that shook the entire Zen temple, and parts of it even collapsed. Many of the monks were terrified. When the earthquake stopped, the teacher said to them, "Now you have had the opportunity to see how a master practitioner of Zen behaves in a crisis. You may notice that I did not panic. I was quite aware of what was happening and what to do. I led you all into the kitchen, the strongest part of the temple, which was a good decision because we've all survived without any injuries. However, despite my self-control and composure, I did feel a little tense, which you may have deduced from the fact that I drank a large glass of water, something I don't do under ordinary circumstances." And one of the monks smiled, but he didn't say anything. "Why are you smiling?" the teacher asked him. "Sensei," the monk replied, bowing respectfully, "it wasn't water, that was a glass of soy sauce." Sometimes we think we're aware, but we're not as aware as we think we are. And so we're wanting to talk this morning about how Ernest Holmes began to understand the use of creative law in terms of our own awareness and belief system. So what Lloyd and I decided to do is have a dialogue together about this morning, based on our understanding of the Edinburgh Lectures by Thomas Troward. And so, without further ado, I want to introduce to you our founding minister, Reverend Dr. Lloyd Tupper. Come on up. You get up here, okay?
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome. Let's see, we'll do it like that.
Thank you. That's a nice crowd.
It is, it is. So here we are.
Belt to show you how much weight I'm losing. All right, how's that?
So we want to talk to each other a little bit and let you listen in, but also to talk to you about the conditions in our lives and where they come from. Because oftentimes we feel like people are blaming us for the conditions in our lives when we say we create our own experience. And we want you to understand kind of how that works.
Okay.
Yep?
Yep.
Let me move this way so you can kind of face me and kind of face them. Okay?
All right.
So what do you want to tell them about this?
Okay.
What should we tell them about this?
Well, I did my spiritual work this morning, and I realized in the middle of my work, I really wasn't doing my work. My work was flowing through me, teaching me. Now, how to understand that is to realize that most of us are evolving within a state of evolution, but not till we introduce the second most important word in the textbook, and that is involution. I'm involved with my evolution, and my evolution is accelerated beyond the law of average.
Now, I want to pause right here, because one of the things that Troward points out
Okay, Mom.
is that to a certain amount in evolution, we have always depended upon the law of averages,
That's
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's survival of the fittest. And then, as creatures emerge who begin to become aware of their awareness,
Right.
then the evolution starts to shift from the law of averages to their willingness and choice to grow and evolve.
That is correct.
Which is where Troward says we are. That we evolve now by our choices that we make and our willingness to grow. So you can get in the way of it, actually.
And to that, I would say that point, when we get to that point of looking around us and we see the law of average, we think, we all do this, there must be more to life than this, right? You've all been there. Even when you're mature, like me, and you have a cane hanging from your belt, then cooperation comes in. Cooperating with that law that brought you to this point. That law of average that Reverend Mary just said. Now you realize there is an infinite intelligence operating through the universe that is particularizing itself in you, and to the I'm getting chills right now. And to the extent that you cooperate with it and identify yourself as a vital part for it, heaven on earth becomes a reality.
So this is our expression and experience when we allow it to flow through us in the direction that we want to go. I think it was last week I said that our tendency to worry is the very same thing as faith. This is what Ernest Holmes said. It's just pointed in the wrong direction. So if you worry, if you have anxiety, if you get all wound up about the conditions of the world, you can recognize that that means you have the seeds of deep faith. You just need to turn that faith toward the unseen instead of the seen. And yesterday, was it yesterday? A day or so ago, I had a fellow come to see me who's not familiar with this teaching at all, who had done very well in his life, but about a little more than a year ago, had really hit a very hard time. And one of the things we learned in talking with each other is that he really felt like it was shameful if he was not responsible for everything for himself always, that he wasn't willing to take anything from anybody. And I was trying to help him understand that the universe can't support you if you don't let it support you. And sometimes that means learning to ask when you need help and to allow yourself to receive it. So that is cooperating. Sometimes the giving is cooperating with the law. Sometimes the receiving is cooperating with the law. But it's always helping or inviting. You know, the divine consciousness in us is always inviting us to evolve. Mm-hmm. And then we get to decide if we're going to do that or not.
That was brilliant.
Well, thank you.
Beautifully said. I was getting it. It's beautifully said. I cannot tell you how full of love I am looking out. People sitting on the fireplace, thank God it's not on. And here you all are to hear this talk. Because those of you who've been around me for 43 years, you know that I've always been able, all right, let's say it, ramble on. But now you have created somebody embodied as Mary Shelton, who is spirit, telling you beautifully how you can raise your awareness from simply your recognizing that there is something more to you, to quote Walt Whitman, than your hat and your boots. How many times have I said that over the last 36 years? That's since this church was born. Because once you are willing to realize that you're not functioning by your brain, by the way. Your brain is part of your physical working, but your brain gets its operational function from the mind of God. And you have an individualization of that mind in you, which is called conscious. Like I'm conscious, I'm standing here, and Mary's beside me, and you are out there receiving, or what I like to call, as I stir up the gift of God within you. Where is that gift of God within you? It's in the subjective part of your body that, so to speak, is running everything that's going on in your body and beyond.
So let me just interject here. So when we talk about objective and subjective in science of mind, people get confused about that. So Holmes and Troward were talking about conscious awareness and subconscious. Ernest Holmes didn't like to use the word subconscious because he thought at that time that people would think it meant unconscious, like not at all aware. But we know that our subconscious is extremely active, that it's always listening, that it's always responding. And so when we have experiences in our lives that are difficult, and we react to those experiences again and again, and I find myself doing this right now because I get caught up in the conditions of the world and the country. Does anybody do that? Yeah. So when that happens and I get caught up in that, then what I'm doing is I am responding to a condition, right, that has emerged from our global consciousness. And instead of
race thought.
Called
race thought.
Race thought. We call it human race thought. That's the old term for it, race thought, the universal subconscious beliefs that we all share, or that we share in affinity groups, kind of. But anyway, so when we look at those conditions and we react to them, we create more conditions that evolve out of not the original template of wholeness, but the conditions themselves. They become ongoing secondary causes. But there is what Troward and Holmes called first cause, which is God. And the way that we affect a condition that we're experiencing without just creating more conditions out of our own secondary causation. Am I losing you here, or is this making sense? Okay.
I'm going to simplify it.
Okay, the way that we respond to that upsetting condition is to look behind it for the spiritual truth that's hidden back there. And the spiritual truth, if we're truly upset by a condition, often will be the opposite of what we're looking at. And so what we want to do is fix our attention on the wholeness, the harmony, the oneness, the grace, the power, the creativity, the beauty, the cooperation, whatever it might be, the unity that is behind that appearance of disruption and separation. Because when we go there, we become calmer, our faith deepens, and we become more effective.
And we know that we know. It was on the screen. Now, knowing is spiritual inspiration. When you know something, like I know Mary knows, I would never agree to stand here with someone else who I think knows more than I do. That's called ego. But seriously, I know Mary knows this. We did a video. Is that going to be shown?
No, I couldn't get it. I didn't get it done.
Oh, you didn't know how to do it?
I didn't know how to do it. 10 years ago, Ed Dudkowski did a video of us having a conversation about Holmes and Troward in Lloyd's office in Santa Rosa. And we're young and vibrant and beautiful. And I was going to play.
I remember. It's in the Smithsonian. We signed releases.
It's been so long, it probably is in the Smithsonian. I was going to actually show it to you, but I think that we're better off not comparing us to what we looked like 10 years ago. So anyhow.
Speak for yourself. I'm an ageless, deathless beingness of God, aren't I?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so something just happened in what Mary said. Now, I never did Scientology, but someone told me, Terry Cole Whitaker told me at dinner one night, if you don't want anything to do with Scientology, do read a book called The Laws of Working. And at that time, I was working to build a church in San Francisco 36 years ago, and guess what? You are it. And so I read the book, and here's what I learned. Just from what Mary just said, it immediately came to mind. When you get in a book to a certain place where we all know that, where we go unconscious, stop. Because the moment you go beyond that, you are unconscious. Now, what I learned, what Mary just said, how many of you picked up when she said race? I said race thought, and she said
human race.
Human race thought. So let me explain something. Carl Jung was the first to come forward with that concept. And what we mean by that, so you can ingest what Mary just said, is that when you get negative thinking about something that you think shouldn't be like that, if God is love, if God is substance, if God is healing action, if God is happiness, if God is temporarily in a form called money, money is God in action, then what happens to you is you go unconscious. So when the race thinks a certain thing is so, go to the beach, eat a sandwich, go in the ocean, and you get cramps and you die. Right?
People used to believe that anyway.
Well, that's right. Now they're all so young, see? You don't remember these things. Or what about this one? Lie in a draft, you get a cold, and you are sick and die. Okay, she's getting it.
Our mothers were good at those.
That is the collective consciousness. Or, last but not least, got to be careful with this one, a leader in the free world says certain negative statements, it goes into the race consciousness, and the majority of people think that that is so, it haunts them all the rest of their life. So you have to do a Barkerism. When you hear something like that, or it goes in, don't try to think it doesn't go in there. If it has feeling, like, for example, now I'm doing it okay. if our current president were to say something that you didn't agree with or you heard it, you say, as Dr. Barker taught me, not a word of truth in it. That's all you have to do. And spirit in you would say, yea and amen, out the door. In other words, that thought is no longer lodged in this universal subjective mind in you.
Because that universal subjective consciousness is the consciousness we all share.
Oh,
We're
yes.
all subject to all of the beliefs that are parked in there.
Yep.
But most particularly, we're subject to the ones that are like things we already believe. So, for example, a woman once complained to Wayne Dyer that her husband told her she was stupid, and this really hurt her feelings. And she wanted him to tell her, that she wasn't stupid and, how to deal with this. And Wayne said, well, the only reason that hurts your feelings is because you believe him. And she said, what? He said, well, if he told you you were a car, would you open your mouth and let him put the gas in? No, of course not, because you know you're not a car. You know he's nuts. So if he says you're stupid and it hurts your feelings, it's because you believe something in there is true. Okay, so when we're looking at that, with this, not a word of truth in it, is a way of saying even to our own negative, superstitious beliefs, no, you are not going to have power over me any longer. No, out the door. And so Ernest Holmes says, it is all the same, one substance in the universe, taking different forms and shapes and becoming different things. And it becomes things according to our belief, because that process of becoming, it doesn't care what it becomes. It is just the law of becoming. So it takes what's in the subconscious and it pops it out into form. It also takes itself away from forms that then disappear. When the belief is no longer there, the forms dissolve. So the power is in looking at what's in there and either consciously inviting it in or consciously saying no. Because if we don't do one or the other, then it lives there as if it belongs to us even when it doesn't. Are you with us here? Okay.
Okay, can I say one thing?
Yeah.
Maybe two?
Yeah.
We're going to take this on the road.
I am going to keep interrupting you because I'm a Gemini and so is he. And
Can you believe it? Two Geminis, you've got four minds putting it in you right now.
So I know that if I don't interrupt, he won't stop. And if he doesn't interrupt me, I might not stop. So
we understand each other.
Your turn.
Okay, you said something that really, yes, thank you, Papa. What that something is that you need to know about, and I'll give it to you simply. You bask in a sea of what is referred to as undifferentiated. That means it hasn't taken form yet. That's all that big word means. When you're differentiated in a particular form of humanity, Mary appears, you appear, I appear. That's called differentiating the infinite substance in which intelligence is completely imbued. And what is that? Mind in a formless state. Everything in the universe is mind in a formless state, waiting for you, me, Mary, Sarah, Francine, Mo,
Sue.
Oh, I wanted to say the queen of all queens, Suruda. Your role in this life is to direct the formless substance of mind to become a form that equals what you believe God is: health, wealth, love, happiness, joy, peace, serenity, and the very immortality of your life right here and right now. No, you can't do that? Sit on the pot and do it if you have to.
Yeah.
Sit down and justify what you see. The conditions that you've created out of ignorance, we all have them. We will always have them because we're not totally self-realized. And don't try to get too self-realized, because that's when you put your body down and forward thou art going to move, and you expand. And think of your waistline. You will expand. But while you're here on this earthly plane, fulfill the purpose for your incarnation. You are not here by happenstance. Now, believe me on this. Whether you think you are or not, you are not. And the moment you accept that awareness, which is what Mary is talking about, Reverend Mary, I'm sorry, didn't mean
No, it's
to.
okay.
You need to realize you are the particularization of the all-originating spirit called Sarah Hargrave or Amanda Craig Lowe or, don't tell me, Galen, or Francine. I got to move around. Julie. Where's France? She's sitting in the back. She has already left?
No, she's on the
Oh,
fireplace
she's in
back
the
there.
fireplace
This
there.
is why when Holmes talks, he says, you're not an individual. You are an individualization
Amen.
of spirit. You are, and I say we're all here by divine appointment. In other words, we were, the universe has need of us in order to be expressed. And it continues creating because it will never be completely fully expressed. But if any one of us was not here, it would not be expressed in the way that it wants to be expressed right now. And you might know of John Randolph Price's book, The Abundance Book. Do you know about that? It's a 40-day abundance meditation. And as I meditated on this, I began to become more and more aware of what it was that he meant and how profound this was. And we're talking about awareness and consciousness and creating more of what we want to experience. He says this: through my consciousness of my God self, the Christ within, as my source, I draw into my mind and feeling nature the very substance of spirit. Now, it's already there, but it's the awareness that allows it to become available. And then he says, this substance of spirit is my supply. Thus, my consciousness of the presence of God within me is my supply. Now, let me say that again. My consciousness of the presence of God within me is my supply. In other words, and then he goes on and says, money is not my supply. No person, place, or condition is my supply. My awareness, understanding, and knowledge of the all-providing activity of the divine mind within me is my supply. My consciousness of this truth is unlimited. Now that means that as I grow into that, as I grow into greater and greater awareness that my consciousness of God is what I need to cultivate, because that is what provides the source of everything in my experience to me, then I realize that there's no power outside me that's doing something, or that is making my life difficult. That all it is a misalignment of my belief system. Now, I say all it is like that's simple. It's simple, but it isn't easy. Changing our consciousness. You know, one of my clients just said the other day, why do I always have so much trouble trying to lose weight? I know what would be good for me. My body's telling me this doesn't feel good. Why do I have so much trouble doing that? You know, those habits they go deep. There are a lot of deep roots, and sometimes we have to persist in pulling up those weeds. So when we know that our consciousness of the divine is the supply that brings us what we want, then we can stop worrying about the weight and turn to the consciousness of God as the wholeness that is expressed as us, as our individualization.
Okay. I think we're beginning to fry.
Yeah,
Can
okay.
I just say one?
Say one more thing,
All right, one more thing.
and then we should stop.
I'm going to simplify these words because this is what puts people unconscious. When we use the term consciousness, I'm going to give you a simple understanding. Whether Ernest likes it or anybody who doesn't like it, too bad. Because when I first came into religious science back in 1967, that was the last century, people threw that word around like Mary's talking about it, and I talk about it, and we unconsciously talk about it because it's part of who we are. How do we have an aware state of what's going on in the world? We become conscious, like you're conscious that I'm standing here, Mary's beside me, and we're talking about a guy called Thomas Troward. Once we've said that and you've received that, where does it go? And this is the answer to consciousness and awareness. Once you become aware of what that word is, or what I'm saying, before that word comes to mind, it gets stored in what I call, and you've all heard this word, your soul. You know, all the Christians believe that when we die, and other faiths do, and we gave due to a Hindu, so I'm going to give faith to Christ, Jesus, the Christ, in a minute. But first, I want to finish that thought. This is where I sometimes fall away. When you become conscious that something is so, it becomes a state of awareness, and your awareness equals consciousness. It's something you've been conscious of before that you put in the storehouse of wisdom called your soul. There's no other purpose for soul. It carries you forward. So as we go to the next plane of life, the higher refined plane of life beyond where we are now, you won't arrive like you did on this plane of life. You won't know where you came from, why you're here, what you're a part of, or any of that. When you get to the next plane, you just say, give it to me. It's all stored in your soul. The storehouse of what you became aware of in this incarnation is now stored as your evolved consciousness. Now imagine if you arrived here with that. How many years have you tried to learn and grow and think and become and prosper and heal your body and your friends' bodies and your relationships? You didn't know how except what someone else said. You won't need Wayne Dyer. You won't need Lloyd Tupper. You won't need Reverend Mary Murray Shelton. Now, as long as you're on this earth, you do need her. I want to establish that. But the truth of the matter is you don't really need anything or anybody. You have everything because it is God's good pleasure to give you the kingdom.
And on that note, I think we should say,
Yeah.
yay and amen.
Oh, one more thing.
Okay, one more thing.
One more thing. I said I would give Christ, Jesus, an equal saying today, this morning, since we gave the Buddha in that Hindu priest. Why would Jesus say to us who are born Catholic or Christian, these works that I do, greater works than these, ye shall do in my name? And the name wasn't Jesus. It was, as Paul wrote 80 years later, Christ in you, Sarah, Christ in you, Leslie, is our hope and glory. Now, you think about that.
All right. So, there you have it. Chew on that this morning. Namaste.
All right. Namaste.
You're welcome here. And now, let me. Uh-oh, we have an interruption. I'm interrupting. Okay, this is Rachel DePaula.
Mic, please. Thank you.
Come on up here.
Hi, everyone. I'm sure you've all noticed that we've been upgrading the technology around here in an attempt to expand our outreach and grow the church. And we have the great new video system, and many of you have donated so that we can upgrade our audio-visual on many levels. Some of you may not know that the laptop we use for projecting and several other activities with the church is 12 years old. So one of the things on the list was a new laptop, and I want to present from all these people this new MacBook Pro
Yay!
to the church.
Woo! You did this.
That's from all
You
of
did
you.
this.
Yeah, that's from all of you. So
So
we'll
n-
continue to grow and expand and join this century.
That's so fabulous. That's so fabulous. Rachel, thank you so much. We are absolutely thrilled and delighted to have that, and that will enable me to show the video, a little bit of that I couldn't do this morning, some other time. So, yeah, thank you, Rachel and Dan DePaula, and thanks.